Hello, and welcome to Every Day is Funny. I wanted to start today by bringing up what I believe is an interesting coincidence. See, I was on Reddit yesterday, perusing through some top posts, and on the movie subreddit was a link to a scene from the 1999 movie Go. And it posted a scene of a conversation between two characters. I've not seen the movie, but the headline of the post was Family Circus Scene from Go. And so I'm just going to play the audio for this 30 seconds.
What do you have against the Family Circus?
Okay. You sit down and read your paper, and you're enjoying your entire two-page comic spread, right? And then there's the Family fucking Circus, bottom right-hand corner, just waiting to suck. And that's the last thing you read, so it spoils everything you read before.
You could just not read it.
I hate it, yet I'm uncontrollably drawn to it.
I mean, wow. What timing. What kismet. That right as I start this endeavor, a scene resurfaces where a man berates the family circus. I haven't seen this movie. I don't know what it's about. I'm going to assume it's just an hour and a half of him giving his thoughts to Katie Holmes on various comic strips. In which case, sign me up. But a few thoughts on what he said there in such a short span of time. I don't know if he's the villain of this movie, but I don't care for the hate against the family circus. Yeah, maybe it's not the belly laugh that Garfield is, but it's a fun, chill time. And I really don't enjoy the slander. But I just thought it was incredible. I had to bring it up. I'll have to look up who wrote the movie, because they're the ones who obviously have strong thoughts about the family circus. Another thing I wanted to speak on briefly is job applications, which, as I mentioned in episode 1, I'm a man on a mission at the moment, trying to secure the next full-time gig. Something funny that happened recently is I was applying for a job at the Blue Note, a jazz club in New York City. A great jazz club if you've never been. And I wrote a cover letter specific to the role. And in it I mention my usual experience, but I also mention how much I like jazz. Figured it's applicable. Mention my love for the genre. And I sent the application and everything was fine. But what I didn't realize, or wasn't thinking about, is that the website I applied on, Indeed, saves that as your next cover letter. And without realizing that, I submitted that cover letter to several jobs before I realized what I had done. And so out there, several recruiters had to look at a job application for me and a cover letter that starts normal, and then out of nowhere, I just start talking about a love of jazz. Which, if you think about it, is great. I was upset at first, but that's a very funny thing. Like, why is this guy talking about a love of jazz music? This is a bank. Anyway, that's also just to say, as a nice early morning thought and meditation to yourself, you can screw up. It's not that big a deal. Let's get to the comics. And I want to start off with a classic that I've yet to read on this show. Blondie. which has always been a comic that's in the periphery of life. I don't really know much about it. I know the names Blondie and Dagwood, but I don't know what kind of misadventures they get themselves in. So let's take a look. Dagwood is walking with an old man. I don't know who this is. Maybe a boss. Maybe a lover. And the old man says, "You and Blondie watch newly released movies on TV?" It's a weird opening line. Dagwood says, "Yep, we have some of the premium channels." Old man says, "That doesn't make any sense. How can you afford to do that on what I'm paying you?" The man seems genuinely perplexed about how Dagwood is affording this, as if he's made it as a life mission to make sure his salary never rises above the bare minimum of premium channel costs. It seems like that was an accidental confession, in a sense. A Robert Durst jinx that, if recorded by Dagwood, would have gotten him a pretty penny in the court of Blondie. Let's take a look at the comments. All right, Ian Gilmore says, "Not that this is relevant to the comic, but remember when Dagwood had brown shoes?" What? This random guy is being nostalgic for a time when Dagwood had different shoes. Which, by the way, Dagwood can own 2 pairs of shoes. That's the kind of comment that, like, if they ever made a Blondie movie, this guy is the poster boy for, like, the movie is not as good as the source material. He would be poking holes in everything. Dagwood shoes aren't the right shade of brown. Dagwood doesn't own the premium channels like he does in the comics. Alright, I thought we'd spice things up with the introduction of some competition in the comics world. Because I've been getting my soap opera-y continuing storyline fix through Rex Morgan MD every day. But there's another popular soap opera comic strip called Mary Worth. And I think it's time to get to Mary Worth on this show, because, no offense to Rex Morgan MD, but they've been harping on the same plot line with very little movement for a while now. We need to introduce some competition. Friendly competition. This doesn't mean I'm abandoning Rex Morgan. Far from it. But it's like when a new restaurant moves into the neighborhood. It forces the others to step up their game a little bit. Friendly competition's a good thing. So let's see what Mary Worth's up to. I have no prior knowledge of the storyline here, so hopefully it won't be too difficult to discern. A girl is on her phone in all black, and she's texting, "Mother and I are going to the ballet tonight. We're still trying to connect after so many years apart." And then it cuts to a lazy man on a couch saying, "Meanwhile." This is the man she's texting because we see a ding notification on his phone. And he is in a robe on the couch thinking, "I got a text. Who cares?" That is the most unnatural dialogue. And I know it's just a thought bubble. But who has ever thought or said, "I got a text, who cares"? Is he like, because he looks disheveled with the robe, like he's not really putting effort into life as much? Before we get to the comments, I just peeked at yesterday's comic. And this is the ongoing storyline. It's about this man. It seems his name is Wilbur. And he is tired of relationships and tired of people, period. So Wilbur is ignoring his phone. Wilbur is becoming a bit of a hermit in the aftermath of a bad breakup. I wonder why his relationship ended. Maybe because they had differing Tony Robbins personality styles. Top comment from Bob Tice. He says, ballet. What a great way to connect with someone from whom you've been estranged for years. Go to a venue where no one says anything for 2 hours, audience and performers included. That's pretty funny. We didn't address the fact. I was so focused on Wilbur that we didn't address the fact that this other girl is going to connect with her mother after many years apart. I wonder what the best possible activity for two estranged people to reconnect is. Maybe like a sip and paint? Rex Morgan time. Now, I kind of dug what Mary Worth is doing, so I'm curious about Wilbur. His problems seem like a much bigger deal than the Morgan family's right now, so Rex Morgan better bring the goods today. For those just joining us in the Rex Morgan saga, Rex Morgan's daughter, Sarah, just ran to her room and shut the door because of how upset she is that she let their dog eat brownies. Let's see where we are today. Rex is talking to his wife in the house. Headline: An upset Sarah has shut herself in her room. Rex says, well, that was a bit of an overreaction. His wife says, get used to it, Doc. And he says, huh? And then his wife says, preteens are the new teens. All of the emotions, all the time. Wow, is that the first attempt to end Rex Morgan with a bit of a joke? Again, it doesn't advance the story in any way, but... And are preteens the new teens? Was that brought about by the wife by any sort of actual wisdom, or just that nice bit of phrasing fit the scenario of the moment, so she's gonna say it? Because she sometimes finds it hard to compete with her husband who's a doctor, and she wants to feel like she has that sageness, an equal amount of sageness as her husband, and she's trying to prove it with pseudo-statistics about young people. I don't know, the point is Sarah's still in her room, and that's gonna be a thing tomorrow. Snark Attack comments, tomorrow Rex will tell Sarah through the closed door that it wasn't her fault, and Sarah insists that it was. Aptly named Snark Attack, and that's what I've been saying. Yesterday I guessed that very thing would happen. And to be fair, that is not what today's strip entails. We didn't hear from the daughter at all. But I wouldn't be surprised if we get to that panel in 4 days. I think it's time to wind down for this Thursday, May 9th. As I mentioned yesterday, I want to build a calm soundboard, and I welcome anybody who wants to record themselves making a bizarre or weird sound. Feel free to send it to me at everydayisfunnyshow@gmail.com. We are also, of course, always taking comic submissions, whether requests or recommendations or comics that you've drawn yourself. Would love to hear from you. But I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow.